Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, the smiles return into their faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Oh, sun, 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 here it comes. Little darling, I feel that ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear, yeah. But here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. It's alright. Sun, 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 here it comes.
Now, I had a question about 3 weeks ago. I'm going to answer from Farex. Hope I got that right. And he was talking about the wages in the US of truck drivers, about $4,000 a month. Now, what you got to look at when you look at wages, especially between countries, and whether it's a good wage or not, is the cost of living. Now, I earn $1,406 a week, and that's take home. So you add about $350 to that for tax. We've got a pretty high tax rate. So it's about $1,750 gross, around that. Now, but you've got to look at the cost of living. You've got to look at house prices, rents, food, fuel prices. So look at those sort of things. I'll just give you an example of fuel prices. Now, unleaded fuel at the moment, and diesel's about the same, it's about $1.47 a litre. Now, if you compare that to the US, I'll just do a quick calculation. There's 3.7 litres to a gallon. So the rough is about $5.44 a gallon. And I believe at the moment it's about $3 a gallon. So it's extra $2 a gallon. So if you're filling up a large vehicle, it's going to be quite expensive. Another thing is probably house prices. the average house price, this is, I'm talking in Melbourne, is possibly around the $420,000 if you're buying. I just rent, I don't own a house. And I pay 4-bedroom house, 2 bathrooms, quite large house, double car garage. I pay $360 per week. Now, it depends on where you live about the difference in prices. They do go up and they can get them cheaper, but it's probably the average price. When I was looking, it's average for the area I'm in and average for quite a lot of other areas too. Another thing I look at is food. Food, family of 4, you're possibly about $250 to $300 a week. So you've got to look at those sort of things. And utilities. Average electricity bill for 4 people, around the $180 a month. That can vary depending on the time of the year, if you're using air conditioners or heating with fans. And then your gas could be around anything from $50 to $50. I think I pay. I do get a discount, $50 per month, and that could go up to, if I use the gas heating just for a small amount of time, it'll go up to about $90 a month over winter. Also, registering a car, that's about $770 a year. I pay about $98 a month for insurance, but I've also got hire car if there's a if it gets damaged, and I get a free windscreen if I need one. That's every year I'd get one of those. So that's some of the costs. So to get $4,000 a month, I don't know if that's gross or whether that's take-home pay, and I'd probably believe that would be gross. But it really depends on where you live, your cost of living, whether you've got a family or not, and how many's in the family. So the cost of food and utilities would be different. But I'd say that's not too bad of a wage. I have been in the US, so I do know roughly the prices. I know a lot of it's gone up since I was there. Cars, buying a car. Your average car would be like a small car you could still get for $18,000, very, very small one. The average medium car is around $30,000. A large car or an SUV would be anything from $35,000 to $40,000 and upwards. Just an example of the new Ford Ranger that's coming out. The Ranger Raptor in Australia, that's going to be $70,000. Plus on road costs, it'll be up to about $75,000. Something like a Colorado, which is a Chevy Colorado in the US, the Holden Colorados in Australia. They range from around the $40,000, I suppose $45,000, to around the $65,000. I guess what you want. There is a new there's an upgraded model. I think it's around $65,000. So they're the things you've got to weigh up when you're comparing prices in different countries. So in Europe, you'll be able to work that out, what your cost of living is, and what sort of lifestyle you want, I guess. If you want to go on holidays every year and things like that, I could probably, on my wage and what I'm paying, and I've got car loan and I've got some credit card, so those sort of things you've got to pay off as well. So you've got to look at those sort of things. But I could possibly afford a 2-week holiday in Australia every year, just saving up the money. Overseas holiday would probably take me 5-6 years to actually get that sort of money. It depends on where I'm going. If I'm going back to the US, it'd possibly be a 5-year saving. That's without spending too much. Tax returns, would you possibly get between, with your overnight, if you're doing interstate, where you're staying away from home, you possibly get anything for $3,500 to $4,000 now, depending on what your claims are. So it's not a lot of money. You can get up to about $7,000, but if you're away for the whole week or 2 weeks at a time, because you get an overnight allowance and you get meal allowances you're allowed to claim. At the moment, this year, next year could be totally different. It has dropped for what you can claim. You can claim for cleaning materials for the truck, laundry, things like that. If you've got a company uniform with a company logo on it or a company name, so you can claim those sorts of things. Any tools you might have to buy, you have to have tools in the toolbox just in case. All right, sorry about that. I filled up that card that I had, the mini card. I'm just putting it back in this one. Yeah, I just had to change. So that's basically what you got to look at when you're comparing countries with truck driving. Now, of course, you can be on a low wage in a country that doesn't, the cost of living is very low. So you could be on a really good wage at, $500 a week. It really all depends, but that'll give you an idea of whether $1,400 is a large wage. Look, it does go higher. There is lower wages, depends on what you do. And interstate driving and what I'm doing, you could probably average around the $1,600. So you can get more depending on what you do. You can go up to $1,700 or $1,800 if you really want to. But yeah, the average about 16. So a $1,600 wage is not too bad. As you know, my wife doesn't work, so I can live on the money I've got and have a little bit left over as well. So it depends on your lifestyle. I got private health insurance, which costs me quite a bit. It's around the $400 a month. So if you cut all that sort of things back, and I've got pay TV and things like that. So if I cut all that back, I could probably have a lot more money. But I just like to keep these things handy. My wife has used the private health insurance quite a number of times, so it's handy to have. I could probably cut that back, but so that just gives you an idea. Of course, you don't need private health insurance in Australia. You can actually do without it. It just depends. You have to have a bit of a waiting list, that's all. So you don't have to pay anything for it at all. Prescription prices, I suppose you've got to look at medical things as well. They're the high-end prescriptions probably $30. So they range from about $6 to $30 if you have to get prescriptions, as I do. I got cholesterol tablets and blood pressure tablets to keep my high blood pressure. It's not that high, but just a precaution to keep it under control. So that's I'll leave it at that. So it's something to think about. Just look at those sort of things if you're comparing. Compare it to your country you're living in, and it should give you an indication of whether truck driving is actually worth it. I'm working around 60 hours a week, and you could possibly get close to that wage with the overtime if you had a regular 20 hours overtime, because you're on a 38-hour week. So if you're on a regular 20 hours overtime with your penalty rates, you could probably just about get that anyway. Another thing to think about when you go on holidays, my wage would probably be around the $800 mark. You only get base rate, so that's all I'll get, so possibly lose around $500 a week if I took time off. So that's another thing you got to think about. Don't expect your normal wage, because you possibly won't get it unless you're doing local, of course, because you'll get the same wage. Any interstate driver, anyone on a kilometre rate or trip rate, they won't get you won't get that. You just go back to a base rate. So if you're planning a holiday, just remember you're going to lose $500 a week. Maybe more if you're on a higher wage. I know I lost quite a bit when I went on holidays. You have to plan for that. So if you're planning on using that money to as your normal cost of living, well, you just got to remember you got to actually add extra to it. All right, we'll leave it at that. And I hope that answers your question. And anyone else that might be watching from another country that might be a driver, there's a few of us out there, and I had another comment that we all go through the same problems. Don't know which country you're in. That's so true. I've watched quite a new number of videos through Europe and the US and South America. So we all go through the same problems. So it doesn't matter which country you're in, you're not alone out there. Alright, till next time guys.